I'd like to now talk about pay-per-click and how you use this together with your affiliate marketing. Now, before we start talking about pay-per-click, we have to talk about tracking again. I know I keep mentioning this, but it's vital you track your results. If you don't, how do you know what's working and what's not? How do you know which keywords are profitable and how do you know which ones aren't? How do you know that that keyword you're bidding $2 a click on is actually making you any money? Maybe the one that you're only spending 5 cents a click on is making you more money than the $2 a click one. You don't know unless you track. You've got to track your results, test, and keep on going in order to find the best set of keywords and maximize your profits. If you don't do this, you're going to lose money, and your pay-per-click campaign, well, it might be reasonably effective, it might be alright. It's not going to be very, very effective, but you might make some money. If you want to make some serious money, then you have to track your results. Now, I'm going to tell you a little story about someone I know, a marketer, who runs pay-per-click campaigns for other companies. He spends 2 hours a day for each company, tracking keywords, changing landing pages, changing bids, separating keywords out into groups, and all sorts of things like that. Spends about 2 hours a day doing it. He gets paid about $4,000 a month by each company for this. So $4,000 a month, that's a lot of money. Yeah, when you realise that he can spend maybe say $1,000 worth of pay-per-click advertising and bring these companies, the one in particular I'm thinking of, he can bring them for every $1,000 he brings in something like $60,000 worth of orders. So for him it's very, very effective. You know, his companies get good results. $4,000 is a drop in the water for the amount of money that they get bought in. So well worth doing, but he spends his time testing and tracking and making sure everything's working. And if you're willing to do that, pay-per-click can be extremely profitable. But you can't just leave it running and hope for the best, because you'll find Google will empty your bank account. Seriously, they will. I mean, there's all sorts of horror stories if you look on internet marketing forums about people who dabbled with pay-per-click and lost their shirts. Literally. You have to track them. And if you're not tracking your results, you could end up losing money. Now, there's a lot of different pay-per-click engines. Google is the biggest, has the most traffic, and because of that, it's the most expensive. There's a lot of competition on Google for the keywords. More competitive keywords are much more expensive there than they are on other pay-per-click engines. But you get the traffic. If you want to get competitive keywords cheaper, then go and look at things like Yahoo, MSN, and some of the others. They all have pay-per-click engines. The difficulty is the Yahoo and Microsoft versions, I don't think, accept people from all over the world at the moment. They're very limited in the countries. Google has the widest reach. But if you're in one of the countries that accept them, then you can get your keywords a bit cheaper. And it may be worth it, particularly if you're on a very limited budget, to start in one of the other pay-per-click engines, and basically, as you get some money coming in, then look at starting a Google campaign when you can afford it. One of the things that's very, very important you do with pay-per-click is to test adverts. Don't just write an advert and think, oh, that'll do, and leave it there. If you're doing that, again, you're losing money potentially. What you have to do is test different adverts. So always have at least two or maybe 3 adverts running concurrently. And what Google will do, and I'm going to talk about Google throughout, is Google will display the adverts sort of, split test for you. So they'll display one advert then the other. And then they'll find that one's performing better, and when they've realised that, they will show that one more. And that's the point where you drop the other advert and put a new advert in. You should always be testing different adverts. Always tweak things, test things, and strive to get better results. The more you can test like that, then the better it is for you. Basically, if you can get your ads to convert better, even small percentage increases are going to make the difference in your bottom line. Remember, with pay-per-click, you pay for every single click on your advert. And what you want to do is make sure that the maximum number of those clicks turn into sales or leads or whatever you want them to do. The more you can get to do that, the better it is for you, obviously. You know, you don't want to be paying for people to click on your advert, look at your webpage and go, nah, not for me. That's costing you money. You also need to continually test different keywords, test the exact phrase and best fit, you know, with the quotes and the square brackets around it. Test all those as well. You may not even want to bother bidding on broad match. Broad match keywords mean any search that has any of your keywords in. I don't know whether that's worth bidding on, because you know you don't get such targeted traffic. For the exact phrase and exact match, you're going to get better quality traffic. So you've got to test all this. It depends on your niche. It depends on your market. Now, Google has two places it displays the ads. The first place is in the organic search engine listings on the right hand side. When you type in the keyword, you've seen those. And those are very, very good. You can also set a different bid for adverts in what's called the content network. So this is any sites that display AdWords. Now, typically, the content network has a lower quality of traffic, a lower converting click-through rate. So what Google have done is allowed you to bid less for the content network, and I'd strongly recommend that you do so. Set a really, really low bid for that. I mean, it's worth having your adverts on there most of the time. Depends on the niche. Some niches have sort of high rates of click-through than others. But the thing is you have to, you have to make sure that you're getting traffic from the content network. You know, is it worth your while advertising on it? But you have to set the keyword bid lower, because otherwise, you know, you're going to spend a fortune again on low quality traffic, which you don't want to do. I mean, typically, I will bid under 10 cents for the content network, depending on how competitive the keywords are. You know, 10% of the value, you know, 10 cents or 10% of the value of the keyword on the organic search engine network. That's a sort of a reasonable rule. Now, you've got to remember, you can set a daily advertising budget. Now, you've got to set something that you can afford, and you have to think cash flow and sort of monthly payments with this, okay? Google will take the money out of your bank account, I believe, monthly. You have to think your cash flow, right? If you get paid monthly from your affiliate programs or your job, if you have a job, then it's no good you setting your payments to come out and then you suddenly find yourself you haven't got any money to pay your mortgage or your rent or buy food, or for the Google payment to come out and then suddenly you realise, hang on, it's come out 3 days before I get paid. Oh no, it's semi-overdrawn, it's been bounced and so on, and all sorts of horror stories. So when you're thinking, a lot of people make the mistake of thinking daily budget, right, well I set it to $100, I can afford $100. They don't then think that, hang on, that's $100 a day. In a month, Google's going to bill me for $3,000. They then suddenly have this huge bill on their credit card and realise that, hang on, where's all my money gone? So you've got to think cash flow, and you've got to think that you build monthly. So, you know, you can start with, you know, $10, $20 a day. That's fine. As you build up your earnings, you get your pay-per-click campaign performing better, then you can look at increasing your daily amount once you can afford to. But I wouldn't recommend spending money you don't have. Quite simply, you're going to get into trouble, and you know you don't want to do that. So don't overspend. If you can't afford to spend $20 a day, don't. Only spend $10. If you can't afford to spend $10 a day, spend less. You don't have to spend a lot of money. Spend what you can afford and don't overspend. If you spend more than you can afford, you're going to end up in financial problems, and if you've got a family, you really don't want to do that to your family. Now, when you're testing your adverts, things you can do that are really, really good. Test capitalising each letter of your advert versus non-capitals. Test stating a benefit in the first line and a feature in the second. Test including the price. Maybe that would help improve your sales. What about saying in your advert that you've got a free bonus for people, or something like that? Maybe you want to test why your product's better than the rest. You may want to say something like featured on TV if it has been, or something like that. You've got to test lots of different things in order to work out what works best, and you've got to continually test these throughout your pay-per-click campaign. Eventually you will sort of start to struggle to find things to test, but then you can test rewriting the wording. But if you've got adverts that are performing really, really well, then perhaps you can sort of let yourself go a little on the testing, but certainly not on the tracking. You've got to continually monitor your campaign. But you do need to just test and test and test until literally you find you cannot squeeze any more improvements out of your adverts. And if that's the case, good on you. But pay-per-click, it's so important you know what is working. If you don't know what is working, you're going to run into trouble. You're going to be losing money. Potentially, if you leave your pay-per-click campaign running and it's not making you money, you're paying Google. So you've got to keep an eye on it. You've got to monitor it literally every day. Make sure your keywords are doing well. Change your bids if you need to. Send different keyword groups to different landing pages that are optimized around those keywords. That'll help reduce your cost per click, and so on and so forth. You've got to know what is working and what is not. Now, pay-per-click isn't something you can really leave on autopilot unless you've done all your testing and you know exactly what's working. Everything's broken down in different keyword groups. You've got your landing pages, you've got all your bids set, and you've done all your testing and you know exactly what's working. Then you can leave it, a little bit more on autopilot, but you've still got to monitor it sort of, once a week or once every 2 weeks, something like that. You've got to keep an eye on it just to make sure it's doing okay and that it's still bringing in money. You don't want to leave your campaign on autopilot and think a month later, I'll go and check that, and realise that you've just spent $3,000 on Google and made no sales because something's happened. So you've got to keep an eye on it. And just keeping an eye on it won't take a lot of time, but potentially could earn you a lot of money. So it's worth doing. But pay-per-click is a good way to instantly get traffic to your site. Now, if you go for the organic search engine listings, it could take you days, weeks, or possibly even months to rank high for keywords. With pay-per-click, you could get instant traffic and turn it on and off when you want, which if you've got something that's working and you're sending things to an affiliate page and it's making sales for you, then obviously that's going to do well for you. It's going to make you money. But you need to know what is working and what's not, and you've got to track it. So that's pay-per-click. It's a great thing to use if you know what you're doing and if you're willing to spend the time on it.